So is it cheaper to buy insurance online or is it cheaper to buy insurance through an agent? Well, that's a little complicated, but I've got the direct answer for you. And then I've kind of got a rebuttal to that because there's one company that I'm aware of that actually does the opposite. So let's dive right into it. The reason I say it's a little complicated is because there's really three main pieces of ways you can buy insurance. So there's through online, which could be considered the cheapest route, but then you have to know everything. You have to know exactly what coverages you want, what you need, and the online systems aren't that intuitive, or at least they're designed to kind of package things so that you get the bundles that the companies want you to get, and it's fairly difficult to break them apart. And then the question at the end of the process is if you have to call them to change the bundle and have them fix it, there's usually someone you can call, but do you lose that discount? The second part is where the agent is involved, where it's an exclusive agent, and they handle that specific company and they sell that specific company. And even if you buy it online, nowadays they even give you to that agent as a customer, and then they handle your book. They just get paid on the back end a little bit differently and less because they didn't get the lead or your information. And the third way is through independent agents where they work with tons of companies. So they have to fight the companies to get the commissions at the levels they want. So the biggest question that we're answering is, does that agent, if you go through them and we go through, let's say, Progressive or AAA, or if we go straight to AAA.com or Progressive.com or any of these companies, which one's the least expensive? Do we pay a fee for going through that agent? And that's kind of where there was a little bit of an insurance joke going around where there was a commercial kind of rebuttaling another commercial about getting your hands out of my pocket, taking my money, essentially is what they were talking about, because they had you in their hands, so to speak. So that all spurred around because they all know that when you go directly to an agent, it's usually not less expensive, mainly because what happens is if you go direct to .com or 1-800 numbers and we're calling AAA ourselves or calling Progressive ourselves or calling anybody ourselves or typing them in, that there's no difference in commission. What they've done is the companies pocket that extra money, that extra $100 or whatever the case is, and they just make more money. And that goes towards the build out of those websites and the hiring the service people. They're essentially, you're technically going through agents, so to speak, but they're not really agents because they're not trained the same. They don't do it constantly where they have to focus on how to get better and build more value. They're more based on come in, clock in, do what you do, go home, and it doesn't affect you because it's not their book of business, it's the companies that they're selling. The agents are more involved and more focused because it's their book. They get paid renewals and renewal commissions over and over and over. So it makes sense for them to take care of you. But not only that, it makes sense for them to give you the better coverages without going overboard because there's a legal aspect and a code of ethics that they have to follow. And that's where you see some of the negative reviews where some of them don't follow that. So don't worry, I'm going to go with the last part and tell you the other company that does the opposite where you can buy it online that's cheaper. And I've actually done a few reviews on them, so you'll get to see that as well. But what happens is when the agents get involved, it can be a really good experience, especially if you're going through independent or exclusive. They're both fine. It's just that if you're going exclusive, which is your Allstates, your State Farms, they only sell one product. You've got AAA does have exclusive and independent agents. They do both. So some are just AAA. And when you go through those guys, that's all they can offer you. What people got frustrated with is they didn't want to keep picking up the phone and spending 4 hours in a day doing all that legwork. Unfortunately, if you're in a state that State Farm is competitive or Farmers is competitive or those companies are competitive like Geico, they're their own company. And so your only option is to call each one and find out. More often than not, as we've gotten a little bit lazier or we just don't want to do the extra work, we've got other things that we're focused on, then the exclusive agent comes into play where they work with 5 to 6 to 7 companies. Actually, if you look down the link below, there's a quote you could fill out, and that company works with up to 17 companies at the timing of this video. And so you call one agent or you fill one thing online, they just click some basic data, and then they want to talk to you. And it's like a 10-minute phone call, 15-minute phone call max, pending what you actually need as far as coverage. If you're adding a boat and a motorcycle and a home and all that, that's a half-hour phone call, right? So just if you give it enough time, or what most people do is the ones that are busy, they'll just call them up. They'll say, hey, great, I'm going to email you my deck pages, and then they just send you their deck pages and let you work on it on the background. So those companies don't mind doing that. They'd actually prefer to see what coverages you have so they compare and see if it's competitive. And most of them are going to give you a really honest answer. But those agents, you don't pay anything extra to have that benefit. The reason they're doing it is because they're going to get renewals. They're building a future where if they have 1,000 to 2,000 customers, they're set. They're in the six-figure income and they're off and fine and they live in their world where you're only paying a small portion of it, which you would have already paid to the main company anyways. So who's the one company that I know of that does this where you can bypass all of this and get a discount? Well, it's Progressive. Progressive is getting ahead of the trend, which I'll actually link a video at the end of this that goes over that. And one of the things that they do is they'll give you up to an 8% discount if you go online and buy online and do the whole process on your own. There's an actual discount. Now, that discount, I believe, falls off the following year or at the renewal. So keep in mind, you may save $100 to $200, but what's the give and the take? Having that advice or that agent, not necessarily just giving you the right coverages, but when problems arise and you have a claim that you don't agree with, there's nobody to fight for you. Who would you want on your side? You, the guy that knows what you're doing and called Progressive or went online and did Progressive, saved some money, got a great policy, and that was it. You didn't need them, and now you have a problem. You're fighting for that claim. Or the guy or company that has written $10 million worth of business with them, and now there's a problem with one of their customers and they don't agree. It's not that they're going to tell them different answers. There's going to be the same fight either way. But at the end of that process, who do you think is going to have more leeway in that conversation? And I know some of you are going to comment below, that's shady, that's wrong, this is the way. It's not even the fact of right and wrong. We're not talking about that situation. It's the fact that who has the right phone number to call? Who can talk to the district manager? Who can talk to the guy above that guy? You can get to the supervisor and that supervisor, and maybe there's 4 other supervisors that you have to figure out or just hire a lawyer to do it. But at the end of that process, this guy can bypass all of that and go right to the right person. So it's a matter of knowing which route to take, not necessarily having leeway to say, well, because I have $10 million of business, I think I should get a better claim for my guy. That's not the situation. This guy is built also off of claims, so he's not apt to falsify anything. One, you lose your license. It's unethical. And the fact that you're doing that hurts your reputation with that company. So when you renew your licensing or renew your book with those companies, they can choose to end that contract. So they have a little bit of an obligation as well. So long story short, sure, there's an online discount. Shoot, there's even a company called Root Insurance. The video's up here if you want to learn about them. That goes over that actually they only do online. Now, I actually love Progressive, and I will show you a video here where I ended up doing a quote with them and saved about 52%, just short of, on my car insurance. It was crazy because I've shopped multiple years, and this was the first time I actually got a really big discount. There was a test drive involved, and I was testing out a program, but at the end of that whole process, with that 8% discount for the online quoting and online purchase, I was able to get a really good rate with them. So I'll link that video here if you guys want to see that. Otherwise, there's a ton of options. If you like your agent and that's the best route, you can ask them straight out what their commissions are. In most states, they have to disclose any earning incomes that they have. So if you want to see what portion is going to them and what portion is going to you, you have that option. And most of the time, they're going to tell you that. I can't tell you for sure if some states don't allow that, but I'm pretty sure I know when you actually sign paperwork that usually there's a disclosure that doesn't tell the exact amount, but it tells how the agent actually gets paid. So at this point, here's where you guys can help. If you stayed, I love it. Let me know in the comments below, but also tell me of a company that you know of that may offer an online discount. I can tell you that some of the companies that I've worked for in the past that were more kind of exclusive, but they gave an online discount when you started the quote online, but it carried over if you called them. So you got the best of both worlds. You could start the quote online, get that 6 to 8% off, and then make a phone call to the 800 number, and they'll pull up that quote and then edit it to make sure all the coverages are correct. You don't lose that discount when you go that process. Would be interesting to find out if you guys have somebody or know of anyone. Definitely put those in the comments below. Otherwise, I appreciate you guys stopping by. Hit the like, thumbs up. If you're interested in more insurance tips to save you time and money, definitely subscribe. Otherwise, I'm Mark with Think Insurance. I'll see you in the next one.